everyone. Today I'm going to share a skill set for marketing, especially for someone who wants to get into the FMCG industry. These skills are a combination of my own experience of being an area sales manager as well as a discussion that I had with one of my marketing professors at IIM Ahmedabad. So I hope this video gives you tons of ideas. I'm going to share 10 skills that one can build for getting into the marketing space. No matter which company you get into, the first skill that you will be required to have is to build strategic consumer insights. As a person who is a marketer, you need to understand your consumers very well because every strategy is going to revolve around them, whether it's your product strategy or your marketing strategy or whatever. And if you want to build strategic consumer insights, you need to understand how your consumers actually think and have good knowledge about their psychology and consumer behavior. Now, let me give you an example from my own personal life to help you understand how this consumer insights get generated. For example, I used to help my paternal uncle with his shop. He owns a general store and he used to put out a sale outside of his shop wherein he used to display the various items that were on sale. One day I came up with the idea of placing 10% discount on certain items that were more frequently bought. So I shared this idea with my paternal uncle and he told me that it wouldn't work according to his market, but I was adamant about it and he asked me to go ahead with it. I wrote 10% off on a piece of paper and hung it on the top of all the items on which the sale was applicable. After a point of time, a lady came to me and she asked me if the product was priced at 10 rupees and she was so eager to buy it. To which I explained to her that it's not priced at 10 rupees, it's at 10% off. She could not understand what I meant and she went away. That day, I learned a very important consumer insight that not every area will have consumers who will understand what 10% off means. I could understand it because I was designing the strategy from my standpoint, but I did not understand my consumer very well. As a marketer, you always need to think from the standpoint of your consumers by putting yourself in their shoes. For you, 10% off might mean something else as compared to your consumers who are coming from a certain bent of area. And hence, you need to develop consumer insights by understanding your consumers very well. For this, I can recommend a couple of books that are there on the screen and also a course for which I will put a link in the description and it will surely help you build consumer insights. Now, the second skill set that any marketer would need to learn is to understand how market research is conducted. Market research basically means understanding what are the different problems out there and developing solutions for them for your consumers. Now, it is not always possible that you would know what the problem is. Sometimes you would know the larger problem, but you might not be able to put your finger at one thing and say that this is a problem I want to solve. For which there are two kinds of market researches that are done. First one is called an exploratory research, which helps you identify the problem first and then develop a solution for it. And second is called a conclusive market research, in which you already have a problem statement defined, you just have to develop a solution for it. For the first one, exploratory market research, the process you follow or the steps you use are called as focus group discussions, detailed in-depth interviews, or you might even review some literature. And in case of conclusive research, you end up taking up questionnaires or simulations and experiments in order to understand what your consumers are thinking. For this, we used to have a course at IIM Ahmedabad called as Business Research Methods. It might go by different names at different B schools, but every B school teaches you this course to study how analytically you can carry out market research. Now, if you also want to understand how this is done, I would link a quantitative course on this particular topic, which has been made free of cost at Coursera. So you can surely go through it and understand how market researches are conducted. If you end up learning skill number 2, then I would highly recommend you to also learn skill number 3, which is to understand data analytics in order to come at decisions which you make for your consumers. See, in any industry nowadays, data has become the most important tool in order to derive anything, insights or decisions for your consumers. And especially in the marketing industry, it has become all the more important for you to know your consumers by reading the data very well. So if you do a data analytics course, which I would surely link in the description, again, it's free of cost. If you do that course, you would understand how to read data very well, which will surely supplement your learning in this particular journey of acquiring marketing skills. The fourth skill is something that you would need irrespective of which industry you operate in, but it is a skill that I would recommend to every MBA grad or even a normal graduate who is getting into the industry, which is to make good PPTs. PPT making is a skill that will come in handy. Similarly, using Microsoft Excel is another skill which will come in super handy for you. So make sure that you learn both these skills. If you want to refer to some PPTs that we used to make in the marketing industry, you may refer to a PPT that I would attach in the description box, but this is just for reference. To be very honest, marketing PPTs are not like consulting PPTs, which need to be very thorough or in depth. Marketing PPTs, on the other hand, are more vibrant and they just want to convey a consumer message, which seems very, very simple to make, but at the end of the day, it's a skill that you still need to practice. The next skill is very useful and is one of my favorites because as an area sales manager, this is a skill you will definitely use, which is distributorship management or distributor management. In fact, if you are working in an industry where you don't have distributors but you have dealers or vendors, then it might even be called as stakeholder management. To put it into simple words, you need to be able to listen to your consumers, and in this case, consumers being distributors, you need to identify their problems, you need to even resolve their issues. And this may not seem like a simple conversation to have, just like you or I may be conversing, but on the other hand, this might be a challenging conversation wherein you need to present data, you need to present logic, and at the same time, you need to understand your consumer or your distributor very, very well in order to justify whatever you're saying and in order to resolve the query of your distributor. Now, this skill is not something that you can learn without working on ground. That is why sales stints are very important for anyone who is getting into the marketing field. But if you want to practice this on a daily basis, then I would highly recommend you to interact with the vendors around you. For example, when you're traveling, talk to the driver that you're working with or you are traveling with, and you might be able to develop a conversation out of it. If you're a person who feels comfortable talking to people and who can listen to other people and also initiate a conversation around common mutual subjects, then it might be a skill that you can develop. Although when you work on ground, you might face different set of challenges in order to build this skill. So this is just something that you can keep in mind, and while on the current stage, you can practice it by talking to different stakeholders or vendors around you. The next skill is another one of my favorites, which is people management. Now, as an area sales manager, you have further sales executives working under you who may have further salesmen working under them. So, you will have a large team to take care of. And if you cannot manage people, if you cannot deal with them on a day to day basis, and if you cannot understand how they operate and how they are wired and what drives them and what motivates them and what poses a challenge in front of them, then you might not be able to manage them very well. I have been given a very beautiful advice by one of my superiors, which is that in case of managing people, you cannot use the same strategy for every single person. There might be a different strategy that works for one person, and there might be a very different strategy that works for another person. The key to becoming a good area sales manager is to understand what works for what person and then utilizing it in a particular scenario which brings forth the situation in front of you. I would link a video in the description bar. That video is from another channel, but clearly explains how you can develop the skills to manage people or what are some mistakes that generally sales managers make and can surely be avoided. That will surely help you understand what a sales manager is supposed to do in terms of people management. The next tip I would give to you, or a skill that I would surely emphasize on, is networking. Now, this does not necessarily mean networking on LinkedIn or other platforms, but also means talking to other people within the industry, especially from the competitor brands. See, it's very important for you to benchmark your products against the competitors and understand where you are standing with respect to others. And for this, networking comes into picture when you are required to generate insights about consumers. Let's say that your product is not selling very well, and in the same price range, the product of a competitor is doing well, then you would know that there is some problem with your stakeholders or your area. But if the same thing is not the case and the problem is also being faced by the competitor brand in the same area, then it could be a larger problem, an environmental problem, or a problem that may not be in your hands to be resolved. So networking outside of the area is super important, but at the same time, networking within the organization is also extremely important. So I wanted to learn an internal software, which takes a long time if you go by learning yourself. But if you reach out to someone who has already practiced it, you can learn it very quickly within the organization. And that is something that I did. I reached out to one of my alums within the organization who taught me that particular internal software within minutes, and then I was able to practice it very quickly. Now, if I had to catch up on the software myself, it would probably take me days. So networking within the organization is also super important. You get to know a lot of people, you get to know what they do. It also prepares you for the growth within the organization. You get to understand what are the different roles that are there within the organization to be able to make a wise choice later on. So whether it's networking outside of the organization or within the organization, you should surely do that. And if it comes to networking on LinkedIn, then I would link a post that shares very good tips for you to build a profile that catches attention of the viewers outside of your network and helps you develop a good connection with them and learn mutually. The next skill is super important, and I cannot emphasize more on it. I have honestly learned this skill over time, especially by reading a book that helped me a lot. The skill is called as lateral thinking. Now, lateral thinking means being able to visualize or think of a variety of aspects in a short duration of time. That is not thinking in depth about a particular topic, but instead thinking of variety of solutions. That is being creative, being out of the box, and brainstorming on a particular solution. Now, to give you an example of this particular point, let us say that you are going through a GD process and you have been given 5 minutes in order to think about a topic, and then you have to speak on that topic for about 20 minutes. You are going to have a discussion on it. So in those 5 minutes, do you face the problem of not being able to come up with a variety of points, and you keep dwelling on the single point that you've thought of, and you cannot break that barrier, and you keep thinking of just one point instead of getting tens or thousands of ideas in your mind? In that case, you lack a skill called lateral thinking. And in order to develop this skill, I would highly recommend a book that's flashing on the screen. This book literally changed my life when it comes to how you can think laterally and you can visualize things in a manner that you probably might not have tried earlier. So surely go ahead and see how your brainstorming techniques work after reading the book. The second last skill that I would recommend to someone who wants to get into marketing or even sales is digital marketing. Now, this may sound stupid for someone who wants to get into sales, but trust me, nowadays digital marketing is the go-to for any industry, and things are getting digital, be it even for sales industries. EdTech companies utilize digital marketing techniques so much these days. So if you lack the understanding of how digital works and how SEO, SEM, or these terms, or click-through rate or CPM, what these terms mean, then you surely need to go through some certifications free of cost. Google provides 3 certifications that were compulsory for us to do at IIM Ahmedabad, and I would highly recommend you all to go through it and get those certifications in place certified by Google. I will link them in the description box. But what you simply need to learn is that what are the basics of digital, and after you have learned them, also try implementing them. I had heard a lot about SEO from the very beginning, but I could never practice it until I made a blog of my own. So if you have some time available with you, you can surely purchase a website, start blogging, or even if you don't want to purchase a website, start blogging for free. You can make free websites using so many variety of tools. You can start it using Wix, which is where I started blogging. Start using Wix, make an account on Medium and start writing. Just start using SEO so that you can experiment with the different kinds of techniques that are out there, and you get to learn more and more about digital as well. The final point may surprise a couple of you because it might seem more relevant for a finance video rather than a marketing video, but this is a skill that should come in handy for any MBA grad, which is to understand the basics of financial accounting. See, as PL managers, which is profit and loss You take care of profit and loss when you become a brand manager or a category manager. At that point of time, or even as an area sales manager, someone might ask you what is the ROI of your distributors. You need to understand these basics, for which I would highly recommend a simple and free of cost course for accounting, which has been put up on Coursera. Go through it. It will be simply introducing you to the terms that are there in financial accounting and will surely help you with your career in marketing. So these were the 10 skills that I would highly recommend to someone who's getting into FMCG or marketing industry. And I hope these skills are of value to you when you start your journey for building these skills in the marketing career. All the very best to all of you. If you have any doubts, please feel free to post them in the comment section. I would surely reply to the ones that come within the first 3 hours of posting this video. Thanks a lot for watching this.